Welcome to episode 100 of TWIOCH. This week we're going to talk about indie games and some of the fun experiments that they're doing with those.
And the value of those games.
Yes.
See you there.
This week in our collective heads, wanna put an old rumor to bed. Stereotype that you've all heard, how we're all just angry video game nerds. Most of us have actual jobs, kids and families and cats and dogs, yeah. This week in our collective heads, this week in our collective heads.
Welcome to This Week in Our Collective Heads. I'm Kevin, joined by Patrick, who knows about movies the way most people know about the backs of their own hands. Basically. And way more excited to talk to you about it at length, ad nauseum. But more important than that, this right now is episode 100.
Yes.
We have made it to TWIOCH episode 100. We're in triple digits
I can't believe it. I can't believe
Right?
it. So we started doing this.
So briefly, we're gonna talk about that, and then we'll do the regular show.
We started doing this. We were like, hey, we should do a podcast. We should do. And I was like, you said we should do a podcast. I was like, we should do it on YouTube as well.
Yeah.
Because there's a really viable market on both, and we started doing it, and then we got this mentality of, well, we can't not do the news. I mean, what are you just not going to have the news at 6?
Right.
I mean, it's like we just kept going. You know, if you're not available, if I'm not available, the show kept on. I think we missed one weekend
we
for
had
Christmas. Two weekends for Christmas.
We had just one, and even in that, in that, I had Cassandra playing you.
Yes.
And we did like a Christmas message. So
Yes.
we've had something every week since we started.
Correct.
And full on episodes.
Yep.
100.
And the podcast has been going really well. YouTube has been diversifying more, having gameplay, having video game movies, like all the cutscenes, and I'm going back to movie reviews. I keep saying that, but I'm going to go back to movie reviews because my goal is to be this generation's Leonard Maltin.
Okay. You can tell me who that is after the show. So in other TWIOCH news, Jason Schreier from Kotaku wrote a book called Blood, Sweat, and Pixels.
Correct.
And there isn't anything about embargo on this, so like I got a letter from his publisher and everything. I've read everything but the last chapter. It's good, recommended, and we're actually, and I am crazy excited about this. I'm going to get to interview Jason Schreier about the book.
Yes.
So that book comes out, I think it's the first or second weekend in September. Blood, Sweat, and Pixels, available now on Amazon. And with various sales and stuff, the pre-order thing, I think I'm paying like $9 for my copy or something.
That's not bad.
It's a really good book. It's a really interesting look deeper into things like he talks about Diablo 3's Error 37, why Destiny didn't pan out, the ways that the Dragon Age Inquisition was a hot mess, how it was affected by Dragon Age 2.
Yeah.
It's like a lot of things that I was familiar with, but this is like a deep dive into how and why this happened. So, highly recommended. I'll have a review out within the next couple of weeks, and then the interview's coming up too.
Yeah.
And I am really excited about it.
I'm excited
because
about
I get to talk to Jason Schreier.
You talked to Jason Schreier, and you know, it kind of legitimizes it. You know, we're on episode 100. We've been doing this. We've talked to developers. We've come a long way in this little podcast. So I'm happy about it. I'm very happy.
Also, I went back and listened to episode 1.
Yeah.
And we kind of stutter a lot. There's like so many.
We still could do better, but we're doing a lot better.
We are getting better, and to look from then to now, it's pretty substantial.
It is.
So we'll go ahead and jump into the news now, and we'll start as we typically do with the backwards compatible games.
Yeah.
They gave us Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance, which is the Metal Gear game that was by Platinum, and it's crazy fast, and you get to run around and chop off a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, I remember when they were trying to show off the graphics and the kind of tech demo-y of this, and they were showing the main character chopping a watermelon.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is so funny, and I was laughing at myself because I was so enamored by the fact that you can slice a watermelon in a game. I mean, it was pretty cool. Yeah. The game wasn't that great, from my understanding. Let us know if you liked it, though.
It is fun to watch. I think we need to add the Revengeance story to our
Yeah, let's
our
do
list
that.
of videos.
Let's do that. Yeah.
So he'll take care of that.
I'll take care of it.
Next up, we have Scream Ride.
Yes.
Which is the one where you're making all the
It's
maybe possible, maybe not, definitely a bad idea.
Yeah.
Roller coasters.
It's kind of what I did in Roller Coaster Tycoon anyways, except
Yeah.
now you get to actually see the people screaming.
Right.
I always like to
and you get
give
to
people,
see the moment of impact and such. So,
Except I never got to land them back on the track. I always just let them go into a pit.
yeah.
We also got Bad Company, the Battlefield game, which I didn't play. I don't know if anybody else did.
Yeah,
I know people played
Bad
it
Company.
well.
Bad Company 2 did really
Yes.
well, and this sets up the characters of Kane and Lynch, and so it allowed us to have Bad
I didn't even
Company
know
2.
Kane and Lynch were in? Kane and Lynch were in Battlefield?
Bad Company, I thought so.
I didn't even know that.
I could be wrong. I will check that while
You
he
double check
tells
that
you
while I
while he
talk
tells
about
you
it.
about the Microsoft conference. that's
So,
coming up.
I thought we were talking about Okami. Let's talk about Okami real quick.
Okay.
So Okami HD is coming, is launching December 12th, which I think is a gorgeous game. This is one that it's so good. It's gone from PS2 to PS3 to PS4.
Yeah.
I'm very happy about it because the art style in this, it's continued to look gorgeous in an era where if you go back to look at PS2 games, most of them just don't hold up, and this one holds up in a way because of the unique art style and the beauty, just amazing gameplay. I think it totally deserves it. This is launching December 12th, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm very happy about that.
And I've heard a lot of people say that this is the best Zelda game ever. That enough has been enough to make it interesting. Battlefield 1 did not actually have Kane and Lynch, so I was mistaken on that.
Okay.
So that's you were right. You win, I guess.
win.
So the news, if you're listening to this live, then this news is right now. If you're listening to it on Monday, we're a little bit outdated because Gamescom is going on this weekend,
Right now.
and Xbox is having their conference on Sunday at 2 p.m., which is a couple hours after we record.
Exactly.
So by recording on weekends, we get out most of the news and it's current and
Yeah.
everything, but every once in a while we miss something. So we'll talk about that next week,
Mm-hmm.
and we'll have the ability to kind of look back and have a better feel for it rather than just this thing happened, as we do sometimes.
Yeah. But one thing that is going to happen is Afterbirth's coming to PlayStation 4.
Afterbirth is already on PS4.
Afterbirth
Afterbirth Plus is coming to PS4.
You know what I mean.
Yeah, but sometimes I wonder if you do, and so I have to correct you, and that's important to me.
Sometimes I don't.
So
but
Afterbirth Plus has all the mods and a lot of the expansion that was added in by the community and approved things that Macmillan was like, yes, that's a clever
sounds
idea.
fun.
Throw that in.
Yep.
So Afterbirth Plus was the version that came to Switch, and so the version that you're playing
I'm loving.
versus the version that I have, because I got Rebirth for free on
Yeah.
Vita, and I was like, I need to give them money. They gave me way too many hours
Yeah.
of wonderfulness.
Yeah,
So
I'm loving Afterbirth Plus. The challenges are really cool. I had one thing that I need to tweet to them about because I've never seen it happen. You said you've never seen it happen either.
Yeah.
That I had the same boss.
The bloat.
I had the bloat 5 times.
So, fun fact.
Yeah.
It would have been okay if you'd fought one of the horsemen 5 times in a row. You know why?
Why?
Because whenever you fight a horseman, the bonus that you get afterwards is the cube of meat or the bandages, and that builds into autonomous. If you get 4 of those in one run,
Yeah.
then it builds to an autonomous meat boy who goes around and just annihilates everything.
That's cool.
It's a win.
That's really cool.
So if you'd gotten that,
I mean, I had
that might have been okay.
I had some amazing power ups, but it was annoying. And then I got a trophy which I can't find. Yeah, so I need to look in there and figure out. Maybe I missed. Maybe the trophy didn't show up until later because I did the blind trophy where you play without knowing the amount of hearts that you have, which was nerve-wracking
Interesting.
because I beat that one where you basically can't see how much health that you have.
Right.
And beat Mom with that.
And then you push around the hearts, and you're like, "Guess I've got full health."
Yes, I have full. I was basically just trying not to get hit by anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, isn't that what you normally do?
Well, yeah, but even more so. So, we got some interesting news on We Happy Few, which has been a PlayStation.
I'm so excited about this.
Upcoming game. Gearbox is actually publishing this now, which
I saw that.
which I'm happy about. This is going to come out April 13th.
And this was one of the games that Microsoft put up on their stage when they were talking about the ID at Xbox stuff.
Yeah.
And this was one of the ones that this one and Super Hot.
Yeah.
Are two that have come from ID at Xbox and become, hey, we're going to put these places because this is an incredible dystopian world that I cannot wait for.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it on a massive level.
It's going to be really cool. One thing I'm looking forward to is the update for the PlayStation 5.0.
Okay.
So the reason that I'm really looking forward to it is because of the streaming. There's a lot of different things that are coming out with this update, but streaming, we talked about this last week. We're going to be able to stream from the PlayStation in 1080p at 30 frames a second, because right now
60.
There's a 60. Oh, sorry, 60. Right now, the Xbox and the PlayStation both stream at 720, and it's not bad.
Yeah.
It's just not as good.
Yeah.
So I'm happy about that. They got some other cool things within the update as well. You can change your pop-up color. So that's kind of cool. You can also manage your PlayStation family. So if you have multiple parents, and you can manage and say, okay, well, this is the child of this person, so this person can control their account.
Right, and this is an update to the master and sub account, which I'm sorry, I really liked having master and sub like actually in the wording that they were talking about, because BDSM is fun.
Yeah, I was gonna say Whitney should be my sub, and then. You need to make that happen. So we also got custom lists that you can put in there for your friends list. So you can, I don't understand this about like leaving was it leaving chats?
This way you can set up. You can be like, okay, you can send a message and be like, hey, who wants to play Rocket League?
And you send
who
it
wants
to
to play
group.
Overwatch? Who wants to?
Okay.
Yeah, and then you can just send out an invite to those people instead, and that makes more sense.
Okay, because I was like, I don't understand. Disable pop-ups while playing video is really cool, because if you're watching Netflix or anything like that, it's nice to be able to disable that.
Yeah.
I wish you could disable this while you're streaming as well, because
you can turn off notifications.
I can turn off notifications, but one of the things that I wish that I could do is I wish that I could disable the notification that I have messages and the notification that more or less people are watching your stream.
Yeah.
Because you already have the ability to hide the chat.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you get a notification saying someone messaged you, and you bring up the chat, it doesn't show that message.
Yeah, that's broken.
So why not just not show? Because if you're streaming and you don't want to see the chat, don't show me notifications of anything happening there.
Yeah.
Because if someone is streaming and they don't want to see the chat, they obviously are using another screen, or they don't care. One or the other. No one wants that pop-up, because then you go, oh, no, someone's messaging me. Then you log in with your phone and you don't see the message there, so you have to message a person saying, hey, who said something?
Yeah, it's not great.
No, it's not. So I wish they would disable that. So we also got what was this? This is a difference on online status or something? I don't even know. The tournament settings are one thing that I'm really happy about, though, because they talked about this. Xbox is trying to do something similar as well, but
Xbox has had this for a while.
I thought it was a couple months.
No, they made it. It's been up and going.
Okay, well, I don't do a lot of tournaments, but I like that
Clearly.
they're there. I like that they're there to.
Yeah.
What was it in Zoolander? I like Sting. I'm not a fan of his music, but the fact that he's
making it, I like that.
I think
respect that.
For people who play fighting games, who do those kind of things, it's great to have these kind of tournaments to be built in, because if you want to do tournaments and rank each other, that's cool, but usually it has to be built into the game. So,
yeah. It came out with the Gears multiplayer thing.
Oh, really?
Because, yeah.
Jeez,
I don't think that was the plan, but that was when it came out.
Sure.
So
they probably were. I mean, well, Gears is so tied closely to Xbox because it's an exclusive. They probably knew it was coming.
Yeah.
Tied it all together.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
So Shenmue III was they had the big Kickstarter, and someday they swear this game is coming out.
2019, I think, is my guess.
Yeah, I can see that. But they now have a publisher, Deep Silver, which it's been interesting to see what Deep Silver's picked up, because they've done a lot to kind of pull in what what collapsed in the AA space, because there was AAA games and indie games, and then the lines started to get blurred and everything, and so a lot of games like Hellblade, you know, it's like a 6-8 hour game, and they're only charging $30 for it. I
think that's perfect.
Yeah,
I think it's perfect. As much as people pushing for these longer games, if you have really good gameplay and a really good story, sometimes, especially for a AA, you can't put in that much time. The way that Unity and Unreal and a lot of these engines that are out there for people to use almost for free lets people put out a lot of these really good products. Like you said, the line's blurred, where indie games can look as good as AA used to look. And I think the difference is the quality. People see flashy graphics and they're like, oh, that's fine. But I think Hellblade proves that there's still a market for it, for really good. Hellblade and The Witness prove that a really good quality game can go in there at a $30 price mark, $30 or $40, and people will pay for that. You don't have to pay $5 because the game's not a AAA studio. There should be more than two options in indie and AAA. I actually watched a recent video on this. I should have saved it, but they were talking about indie games should be. It was a person, an editorial, basically saying indie games should charge more because they're a really good product, charging less almost as a service. But a lot of indie games try to price their game as low as possible so more people will buy it, gets into more hands. But sometimes that's a disservice for people. Well,
I think that in the past 2 years, I think that we have made a lot of progress moving away from indie games can only be up to $20 and AAA games are $60. If it's a big publisher, and it was 20 or 60. That was all there was on the console marketplace. And there were actually a lot of people who were upset with before The Witness had even come out. They're like, $40, but this is an indie game. And it's like, okay, no, there's hundreds of hours that you can... I don't actually know how many hours because I hate puzzles. But
it's really good, though. It's really good.
I actually have it on my wish list. I want to get it at some point and see if Courtney wants to do it, because I think that, I mean, she has an amazing mind. Huge. She has an incredible mind, and I enjoy watching it work. And so this is a game that I would be comfortable sitting back and just being like, oh, okay, you did this thing, and then I'm gonna come home and find like that scene in the number 23 when he's sitting there with all the notebooks and pages all around, and like I can picture coming home to Courtney in the middle of the room doing that.
About was it 3 hours in or so, I started doing that. Like, I grabbed a notebook and I was drawing out certain puzzles, because there are certain things where it's like you saw something here and now you need to duplicate it here, but it doesn't tell you need to duplicate. It's a lot like Myst and Riven, which is what the developers trying to do. So it was really good in that case.
So
speaking of really good, I can't wait for Crackdown 3, because Terry Crews.
You're gonna
awesome.
have to.
I am gonna have to. I can't wait, but I'm gonna wait till next year.
So whenever Terry Crews came on board and they were talking about reworking the story and everything, I said that we said that this game was in trouble. And that it probably was not going to come out right away, and it's not. This has been delayed to next year, spring 2018, sometime.
Terry Crews was brought on, and they brought in a new head of story. And the game was supposed to come out in 3 months or something.
When it's supposed to come out with the launch of the Xbox One X.
None of that made sense. Not only bringing in Terry Crews, but basically reworking, like saying, oh, we got a new head of story coming out. That just sounds like a train wreck. So an analog for that with movies, they brought in Joss Whedon to replace Zack Snyder for Justice League. And let's see, so Justice
ended up
League
with 6 weeks of reshoots.
6 weeks of reshoots, but apparently were already planned. He wanted to do more than that. Zack Snyder already planned on 6 weeks of reshoots. That's a horrible thing, by the way, in movies. If you have reshoots, is normal. Reshoots are very normal. It's like, I want an angle from the back of his head where he says that. All right, let's get some people back together. They plan that time. Maybe a little bit more a breath after a certain line, so that way you can see the person. There's a lot of things that they do, but 6 weeks is ridiculous. They wanted even more than that. But Whedon was brought in what is that, 7 months before the movie is supposed to come out. It's enough time to do that, and the bulk of it was already done. He's just going to re-edit some things. They didn't say, we're firing Zack Snyder, we're going with a different person and reshooting everything, which is basically what they're doing. I can't imagine going into the project and being like, okay, in 3 months this has to be out and we're going to restructure everything. So I'm glad that it's delayed. I really hope that if they need to, they'll delay it again, because I loved Crackdown. I love Crackdown 2.
So I'm going to go ahead and give you totes for next week. Every time we do topic of the episode show, totes. We announce those on Friday and then we discuss them on Sunday. But every once in a while, you'll get a preview for the next one. The famous Miyamoto quote, a delayed game is bad once, a bad game is bad forever, or however he goes. Is that still true?
I've got some things to say about that.
So do I. So we will discuss that next week, and I'll put that up on Twitter and everything, and you can tell us your thoughts on that, about the importance of a game being good at release. How important is that? Are delays always okay? Yeah, let us know what you think. Or put them in the comments here, and we'll read them next week.
A game that was great on launch, though, is Burly Man at Sea.
Yes, it was.
I loved this game. I was really happy with it. We actually got a copy of this sent to us by the developer, which I loved because I love the point-and-click adventure games. I love Monkey Island, and they did this in a very natural way. The way that they convey the story and the way that they convey what action you need to take is done in a very natural way, which I absolutely loved. It's genius.
I also love the names of the characters, the personalities of the characters. It comes through so clearly with minimal actual, like, it lets you read into the story, read into the characters in a way that really belies the size of the studio, frankly.
Oh, I agree.
So I'm not going to say too much about it because, like I said, I know one of the people that made it.
Yeah.
But we did genuinely enjoy it. You don't know anybody who made it.
I don't. I loved it. You were like, hey, there's this game. I was like, ooh, this is fun.
Yeah. So that's coming to PS4 and Vita.
Yeah.
So
happy about that. It needs to be in more people's hands. This needs more people need to pick this up and play it because story is key. Story is king. It's everything.
And replayability is really high, which is cool.
So I didn't even think this was going to happen, but there's going to be a Planet of the Apes game coming this fall, and I've been a fan of Planet of the Apes, original Planet of the Apes, as well as this, even the really bad movies from the 80s. The TV show is horrible. Let's not talk about that. But the Planet of the Apes movie, Planet of the Apes Last Frontier game is coming this fall, and they're trying to keep the spirit of the movies in there, which the last two movies got even better than the James Franco reboot. They just kept getting better. This last movie with Woody Harrelson was just excellent, and the way that they can convey these characters and these ideas through the apes is genius, and showing the difference of the two. And it's kind of part of the heart of Planet of the Apes has always been like, okay, they're animals, but we are. And who acts worse? Yeah. So I'm really happy about that.
And as far as gameplay goes, apparently you're going to get to play as both humans and apes, which I think is pretty cool.
Which is really cool because the Planet of the Apes in the movies, they've done a really good job of showing that for the most part you just have a difference of perspective. You have people who are scared and trying to protect their own people. And
on both sides.
Yeah. And that's what makes a really good antagonist, when you really understand they're not just evil to be evil. And Woody Harrelson's character in the movie was fantastic at that as well. To say, here's why you're making these decisions, here's why you're taking these extremes. And it makes sense organically. So I'm very happy this is coming out. One thing that I'm happy is not coming out is the Final Fantasy 15 VR, because I don't care.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy 15, I think, I don't think needed a VR component of this.
Oh, it's still getting a VR component, but it's only fishing now, not the shooting part.
Oh, okay. My mistake. I thought the entire thing was canceled. Well, now
no, they're two separate projects.
Okay. So this is coming from a guy who spent just as much time fishing in Zelda Ocarina of Time as he did playing the rest of the game. You don't know. You don't need this.
No.
If it was a full game that also had this, that's great. You're not gonna. Okay, if they put out a game, I was gonna say if Nintendo put out a Zelda fishing game, no one would buy it, but people would buy it. What am I saying? I literally spent, because I wanted that eel. There's certain like fish in that lake. I spent countless hours playing that. I played that while playing movies, like, because this is back. I had one TV. We didn't have cell phones, so I was playing movies on my computer while I was playing Ocarina of Time on the TV.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't think this is really needed. I don't understand why it's coming out.
Not
So
sure.
let me know if you're excited about Final Fantasy 15 fishing. Because there's other fishing games out.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
But Danger Zone's coming out.
Yeah, Danger Zone. So did you play this?
I did not.
Oh, you should.
I did not.
I really enjoyed this. This is
The same team that did Dangerous Golf, right?
yes.
Yeah.
Dangerous Golf and the Burnout, and this is kind of a proof of concept for Crash Mode. I mostly bought it. I would have bought it anyway, because I want them to have enough money that someday we can get actual Burnout again. If they did a Kickstarter, if they did a Fig, if they gave me another way to throw money at them, I would do it, because I want Burnout.
Yeah.
And this is a part of Burnout. It's a substantial part of Burnout.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But yeah, it's a fun game. It's coming to Xbox One, which is good, and I'm glad that they're continuing to release these.
Yep.
It's kind of shortish, but it's a lot of fun and well worth the money that you actually spend, because it's short, cheap,
Yep.
a lot of fun to blow stuff up.
Of course. Swervy 65, sorry, who did Deadly Premonition, which I really liked Deadly Premonition, has announced the next game, which is a cat RPG, which is a werecat RPG.
Yeah, because
by day you're human, by night you're a cat.
Yep, that's what he's doing.
That is so Japanese, and I love it.
Yeah, I'm excited about seeing.
I absolutely love that.
Yeah, and going back to kind of the indie versus AAA, this is a man who consistently comes with so many off the wall ideas that I'm just interested in just watching what he does. Like, I might not play the games, but I'm fascinated by what he does. So we will keep reporting on the various things that he does.
I'm happy about this, because this is what I love about indie games. You can take something like this and say, I'm going to make this over the top, off the wall game, and someone out there is going to like it.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about it. It's probably not a game that I'm going to like, but neither is the pigeon dating game that came out, and there's the dad dating game.
You should try the pigeon dating game.
And then there's the dad dating game.
Especially at the end. I finally got to the end, and it gets okay. The game about being the only human going to a pigeon high school gets really weird at the end. Like, everything's fine, but then it gets weird.
Again, a game that might not be for everyone, but the fact that people are making it, the fact that they really respect that Sting's making his music. I mean, it's great that it's out there, and it's great that these things can come out to people where 20 years ago, if you didn't have a perfectly packaged, polished game that could appeal to a giant audience, it wasn't getting made.
Yeah.
So, gotta love indies. Gotta love them.
Same. And speaking of indies, and indies who are... I'll be honest, this does kind of seem like a, hey, look at us, we're doing a thing.
A little bit.
But I appreciate it.
Yeah.
So Tower of Light is a game that's coming out. It's kind of a visual novel aspects to this game. The game is called Tower of Light, and they've announced that they're giving a quarter of their profits to Take This, which is a charity that focuses on mental health for gamers, which is something that we need to talk about. I think that the vast majority of people have some form of mental issue that they could use help with.
I think so.
And so Tower of Light believes that that's important, and so they're choosing to give a quarter of their profits to Take This. And I like that charity. I support this idea, and I don't know if I'll ever play the game, but it definitely piqued my interest, and I wanted to let you, our audience, know about it.
I think you're right. I think a lot of people, I think the majority of people are dealing with some form of mental illness, and the question is, how high functioning are you? What degree is it?
You?
Because some people are very high functioning and use it to their advantage. I think I've probably mentioned this on the show before, but they were talking about the psychopath gene, and they figured out they can see in genetic code if you technically are a psychopath, and they found that the people who have it, almost all of them are high-functioning CEOs and very cutthroat people in industry, and they've somehow taken this disability and used it to their advantage.
And drive, and they've channeled that into and like, okay, so my memory is bad with a lot of things, but there are certain things that my brain takes and catalogs, and that is actually part of why I can do this show.
Yeah.
Because this information gets cataloged.
Yes. Yeah.
And,
Mine is auditory.
Oh,
If I hear something, I can repeat it back pretty darn verbatim.
Okay, so one time, quick story.
Yeah.
One time, we had the Bankses over at our house for a summer. This is my cousins, and we had all been sent to bed. The adults were like playing card games or something. We weren't old enough to play card games yet, and so we were all in there, and we went through Aladdin, beginning to end. Like, there's a bunch of us, but
sure.
we went through Aladdin.
Yeah.
Straight from beginning to end, and I still think that I could do that with like certain properties. Quest for the Holy Grail, maybe Grandma's Boy, because I've watched that so many times, and like those scenes and the audio in particular plays in my head.
Yeah.
I could probably do like a lot of the stuff off of Albino Black Sheep. Yeah. Anyway, I have abilities.
Yeah.
But
certain
I also have
skills.
I have a very particular set of skills, which are not useful for killing anyone.
Not useful at all. But one thing that is useful, again, unique. Talking about unique gameplay. Talking about the Cat RPG, is the new text-based game that's going to be coming out.
Yay,
it's out. Which is out. Oh, okay. Sorry, I didn't realize
he announced and released.
I love that.
Yeah, Mike Bithell is the best.
Yeah, so this is the guy who did Thomas Was Alone, and the idea behind this is it's all text-based, very text, choose your own adventure in a robot world, which I think is really unique.
Yeah.
And the conversations here are really cool. So you actually type these out, or you choose them? You choose them, yeah.
And the entire
text
game...
parser would be really hard to do anyways.
Yeah. So the entire game actually takes place while you're riding in a single subway car.
Oh, okay.
And you're just having all these conversations with the robots. So Thomas Was Alone was one of his games. Volume was his next one, which was like the Did you play that one?
I didn't play Volume.
Okay, so
Thomas Was Alone.
That's kind of like the Metal Gear Solid VR missions.
Okay. Yeah.
And it's good. It's really good.
I liked those.
So yeah, he has a wide range of abilities because those games are very different.
Yeah.
And so what he calls this is, he says that it's a Bithell short. And I love that idea. There are so many indie developers like Swery. I don't know how much he's planning to put, how long this Werecat game is going to be.
Yeah.
But like, if that was a game that I paid $5-10 for, and then played it for a couple of hours, and then he moved on to another project, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I would love for indie devs to be okay. Like, I think that we're moving away from the idea that necessarily more is always better.
I agree.
Hellblade is a fairly short game. Uncharted 4 probably should have been a shorter game. Like, it gets kind of repetitive, and it's like, yeah, give me to the next part of the story.
Yeah.
Give me the story bits.
It's like the ending of Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. It just keeps ending.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like the idea of indie devs in particular being able to hammer out a game in a fairly short amount of time and just come up with like a proof of concept, flesh it out a little bit more than that, and then sell it to me.
Yeah.
Let me buy that.
Yeah.
So I hope that this picks up. Also, the guy who did Cosmic Star Heroine also tweeted about this, and he was like, this actually sounds pretty cool. I like this idea. And since Cosmic Star Heroine came out, like 2 or 3 months ago, he shot out a bunch of ideas, some of which sound amazing.
Yeah.
He wants he was talking with his partner. I don't know much about her, but he was talking with his partner about the idea of doing an Anne of Green Gables RPG.
Yeah, you mentioned that, yeah.
And that sounds like fun.
Yeah.
Is that something that I want to play for 40 hours? Absolutely not. But is it something that I could enjoy for
That's a
5,
3 or 4
6,
hour,
8 hours? Yeah.
I completely agree. And I think that I like how Twitter is being used for this as well to throw out these ideas. And we're talking, and I can't remember who all was involved in it, but the retro game jam.
UFO 50.
Yeah. So UFO 50, I think, is another great idea, a great thing. And I'm learning game development very early on because I haven't done this in like forever since the TI-83 and all that. But
I learned how to write boobs. that was as far as my calculator programming went.
I learned programming a long time ago. I haven't programmed since freshman year of high school, so I'm learning that again.
Yeah.
And one thing that some local places do, they'll do like game jams on a weekend where it's done like once or twice a year, depending on. There's actually a national day where they do it all around and I'm like, okay, I want to get really good, or at least competent, so I can come in and
contribute
to that. Because even if I go in there and go, okay, I'll do the music for whatever you're doing, I can do the music, but I know how to code and put the music in the right spots.
Yeah, and you could take like little projects, or they're like, okay, work on this.
Yeah.
Do this thing. Yeah.
Which I would like to see some of these indie devs come together and do something like that. Because even if it's a short weekend where they jammed out some ideas, they could have come up with something really interesting and be like, all right, now we're going to work on this together. Or 2 or 3 people come together, work on something, and one person says, hey, I'll continue from here. I got
that's what happened with. Okay, so that's all the news we have. We're going to keep talking about this for a little bit. That's what happened with Behold the Kickman.
I don't know that.
Yeah, because that was just a game jam, and he said that actually the fact that it was a game jam, like maybe 2 or 3 weeks before release, he was like, man, a lot of this code is just awful because a lot of this stuff that was kind of a holdover from that time when he was just kind of mashing it out.
Yeah.
And he said that he could go back and like fix all this code, like rewrite it from scratch from the beginning, and it would be way better.
Yeah.
But no, because it's all the code.
Yeah.
And then the last little bit we have is PlayStation VR. It's a new VR experience that lets you tour Chernobyl.
Yeah.
Which
we've been talking about this for a while. That's one thing that, like, touring places, going to museums, being able to take a vacation in my living room.
Yeah, and visit a place that I don't get to see.
Yeah.
And it's kind of dangerous to see Chernobyl.
A little dangerous. So I think it's cool that this is on it. This is, again, I want PlayStation VR. I don't know. I really want VR, but it needs to have more things like this.
Yeah.
To get me, because right now, the 2 things that I want to play PlayStation VR, I guess 3 now, are the Batman VR and being able to watch a movie or play a game
without the TV.
Without the TV.
Yeah.
So I can do that without the TV. I can do that late at night. I could watch something while if Whitney's watching TV, but I wanted to just jump in real quick on a game and do something, I could do that. Then again, that's kind of isolating myself. I don't really like to do that, but
it would be nice to have that option.
Yeah, like an IMAX size screen right in front of your eyes and be able to watch a movie. Doesn't matter how big the TV is.
Yeah,
I think that's really cool.
Well, plus then you can lay down and watch it.
Yeah, I'm gonna go to sleep.
So that's what we have for this week's news. For this week in our collective heads, we have now completed 100 episodes of this show.
We have done it.
So feel free to congratulate us in the comments. Tell us that we're still doing poorly, or send constructive criticism, because we're always up for that.
Yes, we are.
We may not actually do it, but we're listening.
Always listening.
We will see you next week, just like the U.S. government.
See you later.